Howdys and salutations, y'all. We are right back at it once again. Oh, looks like we may have a new bot or a real person. Either way, welcome aboard. Well, okay, no welcomes to the bots, but everyone else, welcome aboard. You may have seen from the title, I didn't forget to update it this time. It is genuinely more running Swordtember. We're just going to get right into it this time. We'll see if we do all the catch up, maybe, maybe not. But I've been doing a little bit of late night brainstorming, coming up with some ideas, and yeah, we'll see where we go with this. What do we want to do first? Suppose I ought to actually do today's, which I believe the prompt for today would be leaf. Yes? Yes. Excellent. Oh, lantern. Well, there's creative ideas with lantern, and then there's just doing a big old stinking like Narnia-style lamppost. Both tempting. We'll have to think of that one a little later, or a little more rather. But in the short term, today's is leaf. We've also got a few other options. Family heirloom, I don't believe I've done any brainstorming for that one yet. Glass, we've definitely got a few ideas. Mirror, I want to do a better go than we did the first time, because the first one was just a doodle, and it was learning a lot about the symmetry tool, and not making particularly good art, so maybe we'll have another go at that. Woven is probably the most ambitious one I've got whipped up. We'll see if that comes to fruition or not. And it'll certainly, if it does come to fruition, it'll certainly be in a way that drives anyone who actually understands weaving mad, because there's no way it's going to be right. But we will deal with that when we get there. So let's do a little bit. There's also, I don't have the best idea for which, but it could be fun. Desperate times and all that. Did dual, we haven't done glass. Glass is fun, but it might be too ambitious for today. So definitely leaf, probably woven, maybe mirror, I think are the agenda for today. We'll see how far we get. We might get more, we might get less. I don't think we're gonna aim for more than 3 because we'd go way over time, and I'm already a little tired from yesterday, truth be told. Also, sorry if my audio zips out for a second. There is a fly in the room, and it keeps trying to land on my face. And apparently, when I move away from that, it occasionally messes with the audio. So, my bad. So, for anyone not familiar, what we're doing is I'm still artist in training or in learning or in progress or what have you. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to stop me from posting my art and doing my things. Don't get me wrong, not a confidence thing. Just I've got a list of skills that I objectively want to improve, and I've got metrics of where I want to get them to. So, we'll see. We'll see how far we get on that. But in the short term, hopefully me learning is going to be a little bit of guidance and help for anyone else who wants to watch the process. We've done a lot of learning new tools in the first part of this month, taking real time on the swords, making stuff that looks real nice and pretty. Now I'm trying to really just get the rote practice in, and also avoid burnout. So we're limiting these to 30 minutes a pop, no more, full stop. And that's that. So I'm going to go ahead and set up our page for the first one, and we will jump right into it. What's a nice color to go with leaf? Do y'all think the blues would be too soft, yellows too bold? I think, honestly, this might end up being too much, but we'll give it a shot. Ooh, that'll be interesting contrast. Alternate, we've got our peachy tone, we've got a full-on red, give a kind of Christmas contrast. This one I feel is better for somber, it's too close to the green, and then this, actually, not a bad option either. But given the type of leaf that I'm going for, this, or maybe even this, let's start with the bright one. I kind of like the high contrast, I think it'll be fun. And so I will get a few things set up real quick. BCKGRND. That's definitely how you spell background. If your teacher says anything different, you can send them to the VOD for this and show them that you are clearly in the right. That's how you spell background, objectively. Trust me, Webster's told me in secret. You can't tell anyone else. It's just between us, you VOD watchers, because I don't think there's anyone here live. But you're welcome to watch. Happy to have you. Also, you're welcome to throw feedback on the VODs too. I do occasionally actually glance at my YouTube channel. A little more often than that. So, feel free to correct me if I'm doing something stupid. By all means, it's a learning experience. I just realized that this particular piece may look nice with my stream layout. Well, that'll be fun. Okay, next thing to bring up before we get started, we've got our layers. Let's make sure that this is saved so we don't have to do any weird save shenanigans. Good. This will be sketch. Just trying to do my setup, get my mind in the swing of things. Drink a little water. And we are going to be off in just a moment. Let's pull up the timer. Let's put it somewhere that isn't blocking the whole canvas. And then let's maybe make it a slightly less insane size, shall we? That seem reasonable to y'all? Because I'm thinking that's looking pretty good. And with that, in terms of leaf, our time officially begins. I should probably actually have the timer on for that. Cool. Let's do this. Okay, clicking into the program, saving in the program. Got my reference here. This one may or may not take the full 30. We'll see. Because my inspiration for leaf is a heckin' sentry plant. Those dudes are cool and also very intimidating. They scare me. But I like them. They're fun. So let's see. We'll do a little bit of sketch, but I'm going to do it the millipen, not at 1200. Wow, 2000. Just straight up 2000. How about at 3? We'll have like a little bit of something like this. Wait, that's a little too soft of a tip. Or, there we go. Hey, I was doing better when I didn't look at the screen. My eyes are psyching me out. Yeah, it was a smoother line. Yeah, that's pretty close to what we're looking for. Dudes are thick leaves. They're definitely desert plants, and it shows. Okay, let's get in here. Because with the sketch, I'm really not gonna go into anything too crazy with it. Just the, acknowledgement that they got some barbs. Actually, I may Google a little quick reference for myself. I haven't got it in PureRef ready. Sorry, I didn't have a chance to get that set up today. Handy tool that it is. LinkedIn, stop sending me emails. Okay. Story of forever. Let's see. I will say though, LinkedIn, surprisingly active social platform for its reputation. If you're in the actual job world, it's hopping. Like for real. Okay, sentry plant. We'll just crack open an image and let's get a good look at how you do your barbs, bud. Man, they've got they're angry looking dudes. I like them. Don't get me wrong. They're extremely intimidating, especially when they've got their sprout. Thinking fly in my mouth. Sorry, y'all. Fly wants to be in my mouth for some reason. I am declining its visit request. Okay, let's actually jump back in here real quick. We're on a vector layer, and with the vector eraser, that's going to mean that we can do some good stuff real quick. Because it really is more of a jagged, almost like this. It's the point. It's really it's not too wide. They've just got points. And I realize that this is not, obviously not great right now. Nor is it supposed to be. This is our rough sketch. We can devote a little bit of time to it. They do tend to have a little bit of a curve to them. The other side would also have the jags, most likely. I'm trying to think if we'd be able to, we'd see some of them. Not to the same degree, methinks, and not after the twist. Might see some of the alternating ones in the background, though, on the twist. These dudes a real bite. Like, seriously, this thing, if you could wield it at all, it'd be a great sword. Yeah, literally a great sword. The catch being, you cannot wield this. It ain't gonna go well. Let's see how that looks. Decent. Actually pretty good. Okay. Then we're gonna wield this. I don't know about you. I ain't putting my hands directly on the barbs. We need to wrap at least a little bit of a cover on it. Oops. There we go. A little bit more just to grip by, you know? Or get some twists going in here. Getting a rough facsimile of fabric isn't really that hard. Making it look really nice and proper, definitely difficult. But just like a simple little rough thing, not a challenge, really. Okay. I think that's enough for our little pre-sketch. Let's just drop the opacity down on that, and let's get some actual nice line work in here, shall we? I say nice, we'll see. Hey, we spelled lines right today. See, we are improving. I told y'all, it's a learning process. Oops, that is not the right layer or the right color. Actually, it was the right layer. Process. Means we're not there yet. Thinking fly. What are you doing here? And why do you like sitting on my monitor? There's like just a little bit of a pinprick at top, but not too much. All right, that's the background, so. There you go, that'll do for that. Can have a little fun with this one because I think that the spines are actually going to be kind of in the darker shade. If it's going the way I'm thinking, we're going to be sort of seeing the background of them. Low lines are so much harder to make smooth, even with stabilization on. I guess I don't really have stabilization on. Okay, well, that may be part of it. Yeah, we can give this dude like a little bit more of like a crease to him, methinks. I'll sort of have it taper there, methinks. Honestly, not even to the ribbon. Yeah. Okay. Looking at some slightly darker bits as we get to some of the accents poking through. Honestly, kind of inclined to do a lines 2 layer for those. Lines darker. You'll see why, because there's a little more than just what I'm doing. And I'd kind of like lines dark to be behind, so that some of the little silly nonsense gets covered up. It is, after all, literally behind. There we go. We'll just give these little peaks, our little jagged buddies here. A few more jaggedy ones back here. These guys, not really barbs, but like, and I don't know, like I've never gone up and just grabbed one or fallen into a bush of these, so I can't vouch for exactly how sharp they are. But hanging out with them, they're like fly. They're not fly. They're definitely not fly. Not at all. But they're interesting. They're fascinating dudes. Because part of it is because the way the leaves end up lining up, like they leave the imprint of each other on each other. So like you can see the imprints of a different leaf sort of etched into it. Not etched, but it leaves like a sun tone. Usually it's not just one leaf, but it's a few as it's sort of unfurled. That's what these guys do. Like a very slow motion unfurl. I will stick to this one. I don't want to go too light with it. There we go, something a little like that. Let's see how we're looking. I'm not sure about the tones on that, but it is roughly the pattern for it. So we'll do some stuff with color and shading and see how that goes. I don't know. I feel bad actually drawing one of these cut. Don't cut these guys. Because I think they're actually slightly like they have a skin irritant, and so seriously, don't cut them. You'll aggravate things. But that'll do. Oh right. Sure, we'll do more lines. I shouldn't be doing this much layer split. I'm definitely moving a little slow on this. Which means that I'm gonna have to pick my pace up. I feel like this should be kind of a worn out rag at this point. A flea bitten and moth eaten maybe. It's gonna hold a little closer to the bumps and the spikes, methinks. Not gonna gain just a bunch of volume of its own volition. There we go, something a little more worn out. Okay, put away the sketch. Let's see about getting some actual flat colors going in here. Okay, so first off, I'm going to put away the dark lines, and we're just going to do a flat fill on these parts. As usual, I need to remember to put the flats below the lines, and we'll give it a little bit of little benefit of the doubt. We'll give it the slight transparency so we can see the line work while we're working. Okay, let's put this back. I've not made the best decisions about what's on what layer, but that's okay. We can work with that. I want the high contrast for this one even. Copy spots. And cut, because that's not where it's supposed to be. Okay. We'll get some of our spines along. Whoops, nope, not the entire background. Intriguing look, but not what we're aiming for. Fill. Whoops. Have to clean that one up. Fine. A little bit more in the way of fills. These little tiny ones usually mess with the fill tool pretty bad. It's doing well today. Or I'm doing well with it, because I doubt it's changed much. But still, appreciate that it's working. Let's see. We'll go for the darker color here just for background contrast, and then we can add highlights as we need. I'm sure we'll get to our shading in a moment here. Now, if the flats are full color, how are we looking? Not bad, not bad. Yeah, it's not the most. Honestly, if I'd drawn the other side of it, I could have had some much more interesting shadow stuff going on. That's maybe a shame, but 30 minutes, we do what we can. And since we're using a color palette rather than multiply, and I want to stick to the clean colors of the palette best I can, I am in fact going to leave this as a normal when I pin it on the flats, and we start looking at some highlights and shadows. So, first off, few easy-ish ones. Let's think about where the light's coming from, of course. 'Cause I think Honestly, it feels like the light's coming from our side, which means we'd sort of have a highlight in the middle and shadows anywhere towards the edges, which is, again, maybe not the wisest way to have approached this, because we'd have like a highlight sort of just down the middle of it then at that point, kind of scooting up that way. It becomes just like an edge highlight, which, So, thinking of it another way, let's think about light from the left, in which case we'd still have sort of the edge highlight, and it'd be pretty wide on this early part, and then narrower as we go along. Easy enough, easy enough. This ain't a super reflective piece, so really any edge highlights ought to be smoother and not a harsh edge. So what that just means is that maybe we can rough up the edge a little bit, not have it be too precise of anything. Okay, and let's see if the fill tool is going to play nice. Nope, still no. Fill tool even reference this layer I'm on at all? Just curious. Or maybe I just need less tolerance. Okay, that's it. Fill tool must become intolerant. Uh-oh. Moving on. We will have to think about these lines a little bit, but there are easy-ish fixes for that. The other thing to note is that this highlight is going to become gradually less as this twists, so I think it's probably going to fade off somewhere over there. It can be a fairly straight edge as the rest of it twists away from it. But again, I still do want to kind of get my ragged edges and my sense of maybe this side of the spikes being the one that we're looking at. Okay, and again, I just gotta warble up the edge a little bit. Try to simulate some of the imperfections of the actual leaf shape and size. Have some fun with the fill tool. Take out most of that. We're at 13 minutes left and counting down rapidly. So, smaller highlights. And again, I'm just trying to think about if this is sort of twisting away from it, what's still going to be highlighted. And I'm definitely not getting the highlights on the actual spines right. I can just sort of tell, because I'm not really putting the thought into it that it's going to require to do that. We can have like a little blip there. How's that looking? It's giving it texture. And actually, it does make me think on these spines. Oh man, if we end up doing the lineless choice, we're going to have a lot of interesting stuff we're going to have to deal with. But it does mean that these might still be catching some of the light, even as the rest of this sort of tilts away from it. Also gives them just a hair more malice, really and truly, which is kind of nice for what we're looking at. Curiosity, if I put away the lines for, well, actually, if I put away the lines for that, let's try to go for a little consistency on our highlight here, shall we? Really get it up in the edge. That's gonna make the spines pop a little better, methinks. They make it believable. And yeah, I'll make this merge with our color options, but that's okay. Okay. And now, let's see. Interesting. Now we'll put the lines back on temporarily, but I think that we'll probably go lineless we'll at least lose the outline line. Outline line. Unfortunately, I've put too many things on the line's dark side, so that's going to be awkward. But we can work with it. So looking at the rag layer next, thinking about highlights and shadows there, highlight is going to have to roughly line up with what we're seeing, but like you see this section here isn't going to have it because it's in the shadow cast. Might have like a little bit down in there, and then like some here. Quite a lot on this part. A little shadow from that one. Go for a slightly bigger brush just so we can fill in some of these gaps a tad better. There we go. All of this, of course. Okay. Just trying to think about if the light is if the light's coming from the top, then it's gonna eventually peter out somewhere around. Like we'll still get some highlighted edges and stuff, but like it's gonna have to peter out consistently with the green here for the most part. That'll be okay. And yeah, we can even have a little more light coming from this side. That's okay. It'll fade out eventually here. We might still have a little bit of light catch the edges of some things, so we can go to a slightly smaller size and emphasize a few of these edges a little bit. Well, no, that one's going to be definitely on sort of the underside of it at that point. Yeah, it'll let us just give like a hint of it without having to actually think through our light too much. Sort of throwing stuff in here and seeing what works, because we're under the 10-minute mark now. Let's see, and that's our dark. Really, our mid-tone is unfortunately this tone, which is the background. Not that it's an inherently bad tone, mind. But it does just, I mean, even at a glance in the top left, it just looks like there's great big holes in this. So, instead of doing that, although I may do like a little bit up here just to really emphasize some of the light there. But I won't do too much with it, and I think we'll live with these being the darks, and maybe I can sort of co-op some of this for like a really dark section down here. Trying not to do too much of the hyper dark, but we are going to have a bit. And you know, we can get a little of it in shadows and such too. Just sort of winging it with that, really. Because where I want to put my energy is getting some of the dark shadows, this little section down here. Which we can probably do with a bigger brush if we're just filling in the edges. Yeah, there we go. And again, let's assume that we're not going to have that particular outline. We're going to do interesting things to the perception of the where these spines are back here, but I think that's okay. Then it'll sort of fade out as it tips up a little bit, I think. That'll just be interesting. And then we'll really pick it back up sort of with the curve till it ends up absorbing most of the underside of this, I'd say. If we're going to still have the spine highlights, I can't quite absorb the whole of it, but that's okay. Tolerance less. Oops, managed to fill the line work. That's a new one. Probably not. I probably just haven't noticed that it's been doing that the whole time. But that's okay. And we'll do a little bit of sort of like wibble wobble. Just to make it believable. Doesn't have to be correct necessarily, but just believable. Shame what the fill tool does to that edge, but not much we can do about it at this point. I guess we could take this. Soft eraser, very, very subtle soft erase. No, it's because it's the underlying layer itself, it's the flats. Soft erase is maybe too soft. Yeah, maybe the hard erase, but larger? Or the rough erase? Yeah, rough erase, larger. Sort of give us a little bit, whoops. Oh man. A little bit more texture going into that bit there, so that we're not dealing with quite this jagged. We're not really aiming. I know that we end up in the pixel tier pretty often, which is silly, but we're not aiming for pixel art per se. Okay. Okay, this bandage is actually looking pretty interesting with that color scheme going on. I'm liking that. Okay, other things that I want to tweak on this before we get going and commit. Let's just look without the lines. The rag is decent, but that edge gets a little weird. And without the dark lines, we're actually quite definitely losing something. But I definitely want dark lines, and I think I want the rag lines too, honestly. I just don't want the upper lines. But things that I do want to do just the tiniest bit of cleanup here on our flats layer. Oop, is not with the eraser, sorry, but with the pen. Let's see if we can't clean our edges here a little bit. And for the highlights and shadows too. Some oddball stuff going with that, methinks. The inside of plants always intimidates me. Lame old like chemistry classes for that. Well, anyway, this edge of this though, we really should just have like a little soft green here, nothing too crazy. And go for like a little bit of like warble wobble with some of this stuff. Anyway, I can play up the highlight a little bit for some of these lower ones too if we really want them like a little bit more because they're in the bright zone. But that's probably going to be the last one that I really do that for. Okay. Other thing I want to do real quick. Yeah, the shadow is unfortunately doing some awkward things to those ones. I wonder if I go that. No, that's clearly too much, and we'd have to mess with line work. So instead, I'm just going to sort of bite the bullet on that. We're less than 5 minutes left. Let's go to our lines dark. Let's add a raster layer and clip it to it. Line recolor, because there's something I want to test. Namely, if I get a big old brush and just see if I can't repaint some of this stuff. Get these popping a little more. Is that going to be better? Let's see. Or really bright. That way it's always highlighting. That kind of works. That actually is an interesting one. Oops, nope, I don't want to get that line. Or maybe what we can do is have the really bright there, and then sort of the darker ones in the shadowed part. An interesting contrast. Not an entirely believable one. But I kind of like that result. That just makes it vanish, and that... Yeah, this is better. This is the best one. Oh man, that was really all one stroke. Read it all. I rely on undo sometimes a little too much, and it comes back to haunt me when I do a lot all at once, and then I undo it. Oops. Okay. Messed up. A little bit of cleanup on that, because I don't actually want that one to be bright. Same for stuff over here. That's fine. But yeah. I actually think we've got 2.5 minutes left, and I may call that one as decent. Unless, you know what? There's always time for last second messing it up. Maybe let's just do like a little tiny bit of a wedge, just so that it's, you know, I think it's fine. We'll get the smaller to sort of mess with that a little. And then we'll just have like a little bit there. Oops, nope, not that part. Let's see, and dealing with some of the line work down here has improved it for sure. But I think, let's see, 1 minute 42 left. Let's go. We're on the shadows highlights. Perfect. Okay. Just like a little bit of tweaks there. Maybe we let this be the max dark. Well, no, because then it's not clearly on the same plane. So, there. Just to give us... Oh, that's why it's not quite working. We need the counter shadow, or the counter highlight over here, rather, to really show that this side is more light than the other sides. So the part that's in highlight should be lighter because it's not fully washed out to white yet. So, rats. I just undo that. Awesome. Yes, I can. There we go. The leaf of a century plant. I mean, if I wanted, I could try to get just like a really, really soft airbrush. It's hiding from me because it knows this is a bad idea. Just kind of airbrush. See, like, I need a soft one, like spray and a wide area. Maybe not quite that wide. Oh. Yeah, the density on these is just going to be too much. I don't think it's going to quite work how we want, and droplet's going to be, yeah, no. Running color is fascinating, but actually not the work. But anyway, usually these guys, the edge lines also have a little bit of a shadow imprint on them, but I don't think it's going to be worth trying to simulate that in the 0 seconds we have left. Oh, there we go. Let's just give our timer a nice stop. Or I guess, since it's already there, it stopped. Cool. We'll reset to 30 minutes. I'm still good? Yeah, everything else is still fine. Okay, so there's number 1. Let's pop these in a folder and take a quick little break before we jump into number 2. Okay. We're renaming this one Leaf. I also considered Maple Leaf Shurikens, but I decided against that one. As fun as that would be. Okay, so we will just have that going there. Let's see. I need to get myself a posture check command I can ping it myself for free or something, because holy cow, I barely was even in the chair. So, we're at 8:38, we're doing okay on time. Let's see our next one. Ooh, okay. Got some ideas. We'll see. Actually. Oh, okay. I want a new... Let's see, I guess I want this as a reference layer. So, file, import. Let's go nab or drag and turn it into drab, which isn't the word I was aiming for. Let's nab the weakest one here. Oops. The same color as the background. Or it's behind everything? It's behind everything. Okay. So I want to do... I like the shape of this blade fairly well, although actually I think I may have had a file or image. Isn't there another one that was like a little better? Okay, I'm just going to open that project. Recent. Is it even recent anymore? Not at all. Okay. Let's crack open Mirror, right? A7. Wow, this is a while back. Oh, this was the dumb idea. Unfinished, by the way, obviously, and it's probably not going to get finished. Where did I hide all my stuff? But we also had... Let's see. Main sword, but there were also some variants just in the doodles that I think were actually decent contenders. This one's a little silly, mind, but will allow me to pan upwards. This one, though, I like how this blade turned out. It's simple, it's clean, got a little bit of texture to it. So, we're going to come back to that one. But, okay, I guess we don't need this layer anymore. And we're going to use it as a reference for what we're actually doing for Mirror. We will learn, I hope. This will be an interesting one, I will say that. Probably ought to use a different color palette, but I actually kind of like the speedrun swords all having nice colors that play well together. A, it makes thumbnails and posts and stuff interesting and my timeline a little more coherent. Yeah, that's really the only reason. But it's nice when they play nice together. So, I will be back in just a second. and we will continue. So I will see y'all on the flip. Okie dokie. Howdies and salutations once again, y'all, and we are going to jump right back into it. I'd say it's about time to hide this layer, throw our two default starting layers in here. We've got our sketch, and we've got what may be, well, this will probably end up being the background. So, background for this next one, interesting challenge. Because we're doing mirror, although very plausibly there's a few ways we could have done this that would have ended up looking more like glass, and so this would look like a 2-day behind prompt and not a 2-week behind prompt. Let's see. So, what we're going to do instead, however, is just lean into it. It'll be old, what have you. And I'm just going to interpret mirror as the verb, as in it mirrors something with the reflection of something. Because I want to draw not a full puddle with cobblestones and everything, as wonderful and cool as that would be. We have 30 minutes, not like the 12 hours it would take me to render that in a nice looking way. So instead of that, what we're going to do is, let's see, there was our last one. Last one we built our leaf blade from a century plant. So now we're going to work with some water refraction and reflections and see what we can do there. So I just need to pick a background color. I want to make sure that the watercolor is, ooh, that'll be a challenge because I want the watercolor and the blade color. We're looking at this old blade design, although actually green on it's not a bad choice either. Maybe green on this blade so we can use the blues for the water. I think that's a good option. I'm also going to rotate this. There we go. That way we've got it at a useful reference angle for my mind. Although we'll probably end up swapping that around. Okay. So then knowing that, the puddles itself are going to be those blues, so maybe... And then the green for the blade and the gold for the handle. That really leaves us the browns and maybe the peachy tone for the background. That'll be a good contrast with the blue. Let's do that. Okay, this isn't that peachy. A little too pink for it, maybe. Okay. But I do think that means we've got our sort of logic in place here. I want the puddles to be the blues. And so we will get this timer going, and it is time for another speedrun for Swordtember. Guess I have to refresh the timer. Okay. And we are off. Okay. Step 1. Save this again because I've messed with a bunch of stuff and I don't want to lose it partway through and have to recreate all that. Step 2. Let's sort of lean in here. Not going to use the whole canvas for this one either, truthfully. Maybe there were perks to keeping these vertical instead of horizontal when I'm... Anyway. So I want just sort of... what I'm going to want are some pretty close to perfectly round puddle areas. It doesn't have to be quite perfect, mind. I'm down with like some weird wobbles and stuff is fine. Especially because with a vector, well, with a vector layer and a little bit of smarts, and it is a vector layer, right? Oh, that's why. Wrong eraser. There we go. With a vector eraser, where it can actually do things because it knows about the line, let's make some smaller ones over here. It's so hard to try to simulate randomness, you know? Like your brain's like, I want to make a pattern out of it. We could even do that one thing where like bubbles are sort of next to each other and they sort of like bump into each other. That may be overambitious given that we've got 30 minutes and we're already like down a couple of them. But the point of this is that we want to have some interesting surfaces for the blade to refract off of. These ones may not end up being that helpful. In fact, I'm just going to use the lasso tool to select and move one of them over right now because it's... We'll just pop it there. Cool. Good enough for our sketch. Just thinking through some stuff, obviously with the sketch, I'm going to want to think about reflected light, especially on these little, like, they're really more like bubbles. I'm down with them being bubbles. We've got ourselves a little bit of depth on the bubbles, and we need to think about how the sword is going to be reflected across this. So I actually kind of want a separate sketch layer real quick. Sketch 2, because sketch 2, I'm going to just draw the sword basically off of this reference. So I went and rotated it too much. That's close enough to being right. Okay, so this is the one that I made just doing some random doodles. We'll lean into that, but with the green blade. So going from memory, we've got sort of our double outline. I don't know why I'm going from memory when I can just pop this out. I know they say work smarter, not harder, and a lot of the times people say that or being pretentious about it, but occasionally they're actually right. Although I'm going to have to move this out of y'all's view probably because as soon as I click on this layer... Oh, okay, cool. Right, still in the same application. Wonderful, wonderful. And let's just scooch this up in the corner maybe while I work on the blade part, which I assume will probably come to here because we'll have the hilt sort of reflected there. The blade but green. I'll use the line tool just so that I can keep a little bit of symmetry going on this. And let's see. Sort of have it veer out a little. Actually, the other thing we can do is use the symmetry ruler that I learned about when I was doing this one. And we can really just lean into this. Symmetry. So now it'll be symmetrical across that line. So then, let's do this. We can go for kind of an exaggerated, like, end point, something exciting like that. There we go, that's fun. And then, let's see, knowing what we do about the colors. I don't want to make this too horribly complicated. Let's just go for a darker tone for both of the inset pieces. We've got a similar deal down here. We can do a little better than that. Getting better at these straight lines after all this streaming practice. I want the center to be about there. Peak, rather. Do we just do them each independently? I think that's going to be the secret. 25 minutes left. Yeesh. Okay, gotta keep moving. There's those pieces for what they're worth. And now we make this squattier and taller. Move ourselves over to see the hilt. And I am going to want to just use the same gold I did before, I think. We can. Fun part about this is we can still use the symmetry ruler. Oh, jeepers, the dark gold does not show up well in this background. Okay, that's good to know. Thankfully, it'll mostly be in the reflected bubble, so... I promise it's there. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't look any better on my screen than it does on stream. So if you're worried, you're like, I don't see it. You're not losing your eyesight. Don't worry. Okay, and then just a few little red accent gemstones in here. Oh, that'll play nice with the background too. Let's see. Honestly, this sketch layer may end up becoming some of our actual like final layer, just the way it's going with timing and such, and the fact that these sketches are actually ending up really clean. And I forgot to use a pencil for them, so they really are just clean. The bubbles will do properly. There we go. We can do. Whoops. There we go. This I think will be better with a point as well. And then we'll make the actual like inset part here be like a little bit more of a curve in, and the green will continue all the way. Not with these parts. Whoops. Nope. I need that line. Not this one. Okay. That's going to do for the. Oh right, the gems. Okay. One. All right. These don't matter that much in the grand scheme of the drawing, so I'm not spending too much effort on them. Okay, so we've got our sword. Now the challenge here, I'm going to put away our reference. Sure. Challenge here is I need to make it refract, and we got 22 minutes, so shading we're going to probably be light on, but that's okay. We're going to put our sketches away, and we're going to have to get a little bit creative. So first off, we've got our lines, and let's just do the bubble with like some crazy smoothing on the brush, so it'll remove any lumps that I inevitably. Yes, stabilization. That way, if I do a crazy curve, it'll actually stay curvy as opposed to too wobbly. And I think I want bigger for the bubbles because they're like a background element. We're gonna have to use the vector smooth on that. That's fine. Hoping the stabilization would do the work, but no matter. Fun throwing around all these big words now that I've had like 2 months to learn a little bit more about what everything does. I'd appreciate if this fly would stop like buzzing the tower where the tower is my face. Oh, it's coming for another pass. Leave me alone, dude. I'm trying to talk, and I can't talk if you fly into my mouth. I swear, I have no idea what it's trying to do. Ah, don't land on my face. I am so glad I don't have a webcam right now. There we go. I can just cheat when the circles start going awry. And then, let's see. Oh, 20 minutes left. Okay, not much time for vector smoothing. I'm just going to go. I'm going to use the simplify tool on like a mega size. And hopefully simplifying these lines will remove some of their weird wobbles. That's not doing a whole lot. Okay, it did some good for those. This one's actually pretty good as I think the simplify made that one worse. Okay, that's fine then. We'll connect this at least and connect some of the loops so that we don't have the weird loose ends. We can simplify this one more time, I think. We'll give it a shot. Not doing much, but what that's actually doing... Oh, it's Now that those are connected, it's doing some decent stuff. Right. What that's doing is each of these lines are basically auto-generated between the points, and so it's reducing the number of points, which means that there's not, like, every point has the chance to add real wibble wobbles, and so having fewer points means less wibble wobbles, and it means if there's a particularly bad wibble, I might be able to just move the point for it, although the square points are a little more of a pain to deal with. But like this one, I can probably get rid of its weird wibbleness by scooching those in. Boom, okay. That one's fine. Neat little tool, just really, really weird sometimes. And really easy to get caught up in correcting tiny details no one can even see. So, instead of doing that, I'm actually going to do something I don't usually do, which is go ahead and throw our flat color layer on here. And just already gonna hide the sketches so the fill goes better. Whoops. Okay, apparently it thinks there's a gap there. But having the high contrast background I think is gonna help. There we go. Okay. And then let's see. We'll do highlights when we do highlights. We won't worry about that yet. Okay, so bringing back our sketches. We'll go ahead and throw the flats at the bottom so we can still see them. Okay. This is where this gets a little odd. Because I believe the sword is here, but I need to make sure that we're getting its weird reflections bending the right way and working the right way. So no more symmetry tool, no more nice little easy going bits. Some parts are going to be nice. Some parts are going to be real awkward. So then, I don't want to be on the sketch layer for this though. I want to be on the actual line layer. Get real narrow. If you think about the reflections on like the surface of bubbles and stuff in a sphere, as you get to the edge, you're seeing more down the side of the sphere, so you're actually seeing like a lot more in what seems like a compressed space, which brings weird perspective into play, where it essentially looks like everything's narrowing. I've explained that poorly, but principle of the thing is, it's sort of like if you think about a flat image, or like a really thin object, and you look at it from the front, like like if, what's a good example? What do you call those old photos where it like takes a while before it develops? Y'all might know what I'm talking about, or not. Polaroids! They're trendy again now, thanks to Instagram. But yeah, you take a Polaroid, and if you just look at the photo head on, like where you're actually looking at it like a normal human being would, then everything looks like it's a normal proportion. But if you're looking at the Polaroid where you're like almost at the edge of it and you can barely see the front, so it'd be looking at like the almost invisible edge of a sheet of paper, basically. Then it ends up looking really compressed, because the way you're seeing it, basically you're seeing all of the same surface, but the only part of it you can see is like, yeah, the only part of it, like it's trying to fit everything you can see into one little weird view, which makes it complicated. Again, I'm explaining this horribly. I stand by the logic, but not the explanation. Okay, so this is going to end up getting warped as it goes towards the edge of the bubble, though. It's definitely one of those things where if you can actually like see it, it makes perfect sense. But if you're trying to explain it, I sound like a madman. Also, I drew some of these in color. That's embarrassing. Have time to do proper fixes because we're doing 30-minute runs and we're halfway through it already. Uh-oh. Alright, well, we can get rid of first offender of that at least. Okay. Well, there we go. That's what that's going to end up looking like with a little bit of its warpiness. I'm going to say, for artistic sake, that we can see just a tiny little edge on here, where a bit of it's reflected in the side of this bubble. And similarly for this one. Just the edge, get just a corner of it on this one. Faintest bit of reflection here. Nothing crazy, nothing crazy. And I should have gone back to a smaller line width because this line width is looking silly. But we're just going to have to run with it because time limits. So again, anything sort of in the middle of the, especially of a bigger bubble, is going to look fine. We're not going to have too much distortion to it. But as we get closer to the edges, distortion's going to get a little weird. I think that's going to be right. And so our lovely gold pattern here, our really massive lines, is going to get sort of, it's going to be mostly fine towards the middle, and then as we get towards the edge, it's all going to get really compressed in here. Since I'm just eyeballing this and not really using any sort of real reference, it's going to look stinking bizarre. But hopefully it will look plausibly like an actual reflection on a bubble. Right, it's going to sort of warp this way. Just our one square there, and then the one that's the same size, but because it's not near to the distortion, it's going to look a little bigger. Let's think. Similar deal with this part. Not even going to see the full back of the sword, but that's okay. The fact that the sword already flares in this direction just means that this is going to look even wilder. You know what? I can go. Let's go with a slightly thinner weight for this part. Guess this ought to really sort of get condensed as we go around the edge too. So it's going to be more like that. And I can fix the line weight on that one weirdly easily, so that'll be okay. Maybe it's not that we get narrow. Maybe it needs to be widening towards the edges. I don't think that's right. I suppose it depends on the shape that we're actually dealing with. Well, I'll unhide at the end and we'll see if it looks believable or not, and we'll go from there. This one... Refraction is really complicated, and it was an overambitious idea to think that this was ever going to work, especially as a timed one, let alone a non-timed one. But you know what? We'll run with it. We'll be inconsistent about it, and we'll just sort of see what happens. Not ideal, but it's sometimes what we end up doing in the name of finishing stuff in a timely manner. Because I've got more things that we gotta draw, you know? It's also closer to the camera, so that's gonna result in some interesting stuff. Camera, of course, being us. I hide the sketch. How are we doing? This part actually looks really good. I think that it was right. I think this is potentially right. This one we need to work on, and this one we need to work on a little bit, and we've got 11 minutes to do it. So, before I get too far away, we're going to throw some flat colors in here. We're going to tell the fill tool to close some gaps. Oops, I should hide the other sketch layer too. At this point, I don't think it's helping us. Okay, maybe not quite that much gap. What are you stuck on? Like it's stuck on a line in there somewhere. Oh, the actual line work, I think. That's awkward. Yeah, it is. Okay. Well, if we have time, we'll do a little fix there. If not, then we won't. That's the way of it. Gotta live with the mistakes. Not an easy thing to learn in life in general, let alone in art. So got that. We got this piece, but I don't want to do that one yet because I think we've got some tweaks to fix there. So, oh, I think I see what I want to do with this. So, whoops, nope. Let's get on the correct layer. Lines. We'll bring the sketch back just loosely. We're going to redo this side. Accidentally remove the edge of the bubble. We'll just live with that. Okay, so getting our edge. I think that I really want this to... Getting our edge and using a brush and not an eraser. And going to 7 because we're on this border. We really want to flare this out around the edge and then have it compress over here. Have this sort of flare up. Then, yeah, okay, that we're sort of getting like the bending look better. Good. Okay, I think I figured out what we were doing wrong. And this is not the worst one to have to redraw because it was the wrong line width anyway, so. And it helps to figure out, like with this sort of thing when you're distorting an image, figuring out your outer border is usually easier than trying to figure out the details, and so I always recommend doing it first. And then that it gives you a reference point. It means you do have to make sure you do the outer border right, because if you get it wrong, then like all of the stuff built based on it is super wrong as well. That's not what you want. I'm okay with that. Okay. Not with the border being wrong, but I am okay with how we're looking on this because we've got less than 10 minutes left and we are way behind where I'd like to be on a normal sketch at this phase. But that's fine. We're catching up. So, filling in the flats. Fill. Fill. Oh, I guess this probably should actually continue all the way down to the break, shouldn't it? There's like a little warpiness with that. That's fine. I don't want to do that with line. I should actually just do that on the fill layer. It's fine. Maintaining perfect layers is a luxury we don't really have at the moment. Okay, so there we go. We've got our pieces. It does look weirdly warped. Remove the lines. Well, the bubbles lose something for sure. How about this? I just need to remove the bubble lines where they meet the sword and where they're causing issues. So on the line work, let's go ahead and pull out our vector eraser. Move lines where they're causing problems. Thankfully isn't too many places. But it is a few places. Main issue is here. I definitely, like, the reflections are going to look better without the lines interrupting them where they shouldn't. Keep them to interrupting where they should. And then let's go and do a little bit of manual cleanup on the flat layer. That may be as much as we get. We'll see. We need to be on the lines layer? Yes. I don't like doing it on that layer, but that's... Because I always like the ability to just pull the lines off entirely and sort of run with it like that. It doesn't work quite as well on this one because we've got kind of rough edges. But it's not bad per se. I guess that's the other thing we can do to give these a little more volume, is give the actual bubbles they're on a reflection of sorts. Doesn't have to be a big reflection. In fact, on a smaller bubble, it's definitely not going to be, but it does need to follow the curvature of the bubble well, else it won't be believable. And this is where this gets interesting. I think we're just going to want lighter colors where the reflection is. So let's figure out where the reflection would be. It's going to be a sizable one because this is a sizable bubble. It's mostly that light green. This section is going to be the darker green. And then this section will be back to our blue highlight. Wonder if the fill is going to respect that at all. Sort of, okay. But really, I think I just want a much smaller brush to go and clean up the edges a little bit. And same for this one. Make that line up. Not perfectly, but enough to look decent. Oops. oops, yeah, this, and then even like a really fine point for this little bit here, which is a detail that probably isn't important. But, you know, it's there, we added it. Okay, so our swords... Okay, you know what? The sword itself is obviously missing a little bit of depth, and we got 5 minutes to go, so we can do a few design tweaks on it to give it a little life, and I think that's what I'm going to do with our 5 minutes, because I don't think we can do any like major design corrections with the time we have left. Whoops. Almost kicked over a box under my desk. That would have been unfortunate. So let's first off, for our highlights, let's do a much bigger one on this bubble, because we're sort of getting from like, I don't know, what is that, like 10 o'clock-ish to 11:30? We want to make sure that we're matching that proportionally on each. And then let's just have a little bit of fun with the blade itself, methinks. And I'm just going to actually use our select and fill because it's going to be faster for our purposes, and speed is very much of the essence. Instead of our lasso, I'm going to use the polyline, which basically lets us just define an area and fill it with a color. And using this, I'm going to give a hint of a little shape because the reflections will sort of imply the shape that it should be. We need to be a little closer to make this one look believable. Fill. Okay, cool. Same deal on this side. Boop, 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 boop. Fill. Boop. Oops. Nope. Giving like a little bit of an angle to it to try to imply some depth. Like you can, it sort of implies there's a point on this, it's not just a flat object. We'll keep up with that. And of course, a little bit on this one. Oops. Hold on, let's not lose our refraction bend. Just for this. Okay. And then see, we can add just a little bit of something for this. Trying to keep up with some of that. I think honestly with this, let's just maybe add a little point. Darn it, fly in my face now is the worst time. Okay, then we can sort of add just a line over here. Just to hint at the reflection. Oh, big one, big one. Let's get this one. 2 minutes left, let's do this. Can imply a gemstone of sorts by doing the same trick here. Wait, we gotta do it less sloppy than that when it's this big. Can't really afford to have any of the edge showing. There we go. And sort of a similar deal on this one, although with the refraction on it, it's already doing wild things to it. Let's try to steer along this edge as best as we can in the time we have. And now, the only reason I'm even remotely quick at this is because it's very similar to how Krita's fill select tool worked back when I was first learning. And so it feels fairly familiar. Okay, wait, no. Let's zoom out. We want to hint that the blade itself has a little something to it as well. Again, it's rough. It's not the best method in the world. But on a time crunch it'll do, you know? Any port in a storm, as they say. I don't want to conflict with this highlight too much, and I feel like we're already risking that. So instead, I'm going to use our last 30 seconds to just take a brush and do like a little bit of edge cleanup on this. Get a little smoother. Not Not perfect, mind. Wait, definitely not with that. Maybe we do need to continue this particular highlight across. Are we doing 8 seconds left? Probably unwise to start any more lines, but let's do one more right there. Okay, come on. And that's time. Okay. Final result. 30 minutes. Not perfect. Especially not this wibble bit here. But it's not bad. It definitely gets some interesting refraction looks to it. Honestly, the wibble just makes this bubble look taller. I kind of just wish the highlight matched. So yeah, you know, it's definitely not the same type of deal as if we were trying to spend like a couple hours and really make one of these look polished. But for a quick little 30-minute, let's try a concept and just run with it. I'm actually pretty happy with this one, especially because honestly, of the 3 swords we're doing today, this is the one I prepared the least. I didn't do a whole lot of detailed sketching on this one, which probably shows because I had to do the entire sword sketch in there again, basically. Risky, and we felt the pain for it a little bit, but I think it's pretty good. Whoops, that's the other one. I think overall this one's pretty decent. So I'll save it. We'll put it in its folder as we do. Create folder and insert layer, because otherwise these layers just get to be a mess. And this is for mirror, which was a prompt for day 7, so it's almost 2 weeks old, but that's fine. No one ever said you had to do Swordtember in order or finish it. That said, doing these speedruns is a way to sort of catch up on it a little bit without burning out, and I think it's been fun. Also, for each of the swords we did, like the first week, I was basically spending 2 to 3 hours on just the drawing part, and plus planning time in advance and all of that. And so I was learning a lot of techniques, and now this is putting to the test. It's a way to sort of reinforce, like, hey, do you remember how to do that? And so far the answer is sometimes, but not always. So that's an interesting one for mirror. Why did I go and leave the most complicated one for last? Okay, I've got 2 options here. And they're both stupid interpretations of the prompt, which is my pride and joy when it comes to Swordtember, is what's the dumbest possible way I can interpret this prompt? I'm going to do that. Which is how we ended up with such challenges as Candle, where you hold the sword by the flame. But I think this next one, to be fair, was a tough challenge to begin with, and so I'll go ahead and start setting up the canvas for it. And also, did I move the background layer at some point by accident? Let me fix that now that we're out of the time. Yeah, it totally did. Or it's just too small. Okay, easy solution there. Fill tool. Maybe let's use the right color. There we go. Playing with multicolor backgrounds is something that's fun, but not for today. Okay, we'll put this one away. We'll set up our 2 default starting layers that we always do, which is going to be our sketch and our background. Okay. We'll hide this one. Oh, if for anyone dropping in, by the way, if you want to see what we did, the first one we did this stream was for leaf. This is based on a century plant, which honestly, 1 leaf from one of those would be more than enough to be a sword in any day. So, like, never let anyone say that a leaf blade would be weak, because this thing, I mean, it would hurt you more than it hurts anyone else, but it definitely would hurt. Century plants are fun, but also a little bit intimidating, because some of them are taller than I am. That was leaf. We've done mirror. Next up, oh boy, what color? Oh, colors are going to be an oddball on this one for sure. Because our next prompt is woven. And let me tell you, that's not an easy prompt. I've been trying to come up with good ideas for this for ages, and I've come up with some odd ideas and some interesting ones, but nothing that actually was a coherent sword until last night, when my stupid brainstorming resulted in something absolutely stupid, but that's what I'm here for. So we're going to go with our woven. We're going to base this on a Zweihander. Well, at least the video game understanding of a Zweihander. Maybe not the real ones. There's a lot of variants and all of that, and medieval classifications weren't the same as modern, and that's neither here nor there, and no one's here for me to lecture about that. But it does mean that we've got some fun color options. We've done a lot of greens today. We've done a lot with our blues, and I'm liking this color palette still. there anything I'm missing on the bottom row, or is it just, yeah, it's just the black that kind of is jarring. It's not quite full black, but it's close. So I think, okay, so if we do red and green for that, then I don't want to do another yellow background. Maybe we do sort of the beigey background for our color. I think that's what we're gonna do. So, beige background. It's not the same, like this one's a darker yellow, and this one's obviously kind of, what is this? Like a wine or like red sauce? I don't know. Like red sauce, not red sauce. I think we call it red sauce. That feels pretentious. But a bunch of people in line ahead of me at school used to call it that tomato sauce, that stuff. But like if you mix cheese in it, anyway, we're getting on a tangent and we don't have all night. Because we got one more sword and we're going to do it in 30 minutes, same as the last ones. And we're going to see if we can't get something good out of it. I've got ideas for this one. So many ideas, and they're all terrible. So let's get our timer reset. We're going to set the timer 30 minutes. I know it's just a tiny view here. 30 minutes, here we go. We've got our alarm sound, and we are going to hit start. Okay, now we're in the thick of it. So step one for my sketch is right off the bat, I'm going to go and pull out that symmetry ruler again, because this one is a complex idea, and as much as I'd like to practice my ability to draw stuff reasonably symmetrically and have consistent lines, we've got bold ambitions today. Bold, terrible ambitions. So, step one. No, not another symmetry ruler. That's not step one. That's step never, please, for the love of goodness. Okay. I think what we want here is line down, and then sort of, that'll do actually. That's not bad for that, really. That's pretty bad for that, though. Come on, quick lines, not overthought lines. Quick lines usually end up looking better anyway. And we've got our flat metal color. We're going to continue this out a fair bit more. There we go, that's decent. I shouldn't mess with this part too much, really. Just like a little bit of a decorative. We'll drop it down to a 4 even. That way we can get like just a little bit of something. Okay. And I promise this will all start to make sense in a few more stages here. And you'll think, why would you ever choose to do this? But we have chosen to do it. Okay, there we go. And then another one there. That'll do. And this sketch layer is going to probably be fairly close to the final layer, honestly. We'll see if I'm over panicking on this and it ends up being super easy to execute. Oh, right, the select tool mirrors as well. Bizarre. I guess it needs to go here. Okay, no, hold on. What have I done? Easy way. Uh-oh. Select tool. New plan. Lasso. Good enough. Let's just scoot this over a little bit. Still want to keep it centered on that line if we can. That'll do. Got our metal color here. And I'm just going to do some simple straight lines on this one. Nothing crazy for this piece. Because it's not where the emphasis is going to be, so it's not where I care if I put a lot of energy. Oh, right, the ellipse tool, but it's currently on fill mode for some reason. Okay, it's not. But it's a bad idea to use it with the mirror tool right now. Oh, okay, that works. That feels oversized even for this blade. That'll do. Because it's a vector, I can just pick it up, and because it's the reflected, I actually made 2 of them. And so let's just delete this one. Also, I think I just figured out how I picked up the background at some point. Similar deal, it looks like. Good enough. Can't spend time messing around with that. One more circle on the sketch layer. Be right in the middle of this one. Something like that. We'll keep that. We'll keep those simple and straightforward because the next part isn't. Um, if the prompt is woven, then I figured, well, shouldn't the entire sword be a loom then? And so that's what we're going to do. The old Zweihander, one of the traits, at least in a lot of video game ones, and in a fair number of the real ones, to be fair, is they've got sort of this second stage out here that's got like kind of hooks that pop out. I don't remember their full purpose. I think it's to some extent it would function as a secondary crossguard, which is handy. But with the weight and size of these swords, I'm not entirely sure its intended purpose. However, in our case, it's going to end there. And normally, that is definitely not what they would do. Looks like a pacifier or something. We'll just do a point. I want a slightly steeper point than that. I still want it to look intimidating, even though it's not. Because the bulk of this blade is not going to be in the blade itself, but in the fact that we are weaving it into we're actually weaving with it. So, going into this and no longer aiming, well, I guess we'd still want straight-ish lines, but they don't have to be as straight. So I'm okay with a little bit of variance on these ones as we bring the threads in. Don't want too much variance or it'll be obvious about the mirroring. And then, let's see. Really, we'll have a little something less than that, but I think if we're going to be making ourselves a Christmas scarf, then let's start pacing out no longer with the mirror. Okay, nope. It is fun to just like take the rulers and just sketch with them for a long time, like just make doodles and stuff. Let's no, don't delete the layer, just the ruler. Okay, here we go. That'll do. Because these are not mirrored. These are just going to be doing whatever the heck. We'll have a little fun with them, maybe. See, this one will wrap up around there. We'll sort of bring it around. Like that, have some fun with the ribbons on them. Or at least the scarf. I guess we're making two scarves at once, which once again, not how it works. Not how a loom works. But it'll do for our purposes. So, at phase 1, this looks patently ridiculous, and it will continue to do so throughout the rest of it. But we can do a little bit of line cleanup, because we've got 23 minutes to go, so we can afford to do that a little bit. So step 1, this is no longer sketch, this has quickly just become final lines. The symmetry ruler does help with a lot of precision on stuff like that. So let's do a little bit with our sort of vector cleanup tools. We'll do connecting the lines to try to make that merge a little better. Same on this side. And with this and that, it helps with these loose corners, which is nice for the fill tool later. It also helps with weird stuff like this. The vector lines are a singular line. But it is a little inconsistent in how it reacts sometimes. That's a little weird. Right there. Those two. Not that important, really and truly. That's not doing squat. And we don't need a duplicate ring. We can get rid of one of those. Okay. Next up, we'll do... there's really not that much to simplify. Like, maybe we'll see on these threads, they've got some room for improvement, to say the least. But in terms of the rest of this, I think that I'm probably just going to do some detail lines, not as a raster layer, as a vector layer, so we get the nice vector controls. Detail lines. And let's see, this is where I want to lean a little more into the silly Christmasness of it. And I realize it's September, we're not near Christmas at all. Not even like a little bit. Why does my pen feel so big compared to the... Was I doing like a 1 or a 2 width line for this? Okay, that's something that I can tweak on this layer. is let's adjust our line width. Another perk of the vectors is we can make the lines, we can literally change our line width. Just like select it and boom. That was admittedly too much. Let's maybe just increase it by 1. And boom, now it meshes better with everything else and it's a little less jarring. I can simplify these curves to make them a little cleaner looking, and that's fine. That's fun. Okay, next thing that I want to do a little bit of is just some weaving around the actual sword base itself. So we'll do some fun stuff like this. I could redraw those, or I could just, well, I guess it's going to make, no, if I had to do both of them, it's not worth. I was going to think about copying and pasting them across, but I don't know, it's not that hard to read, to just draw a whole bunch of these that are roughly close. I say that, it's actually kind of a challenge. Enjoying some of the Breath of the Wild music in the background here. That'll be enough of that. Then we'll do our sort of competing green one. Remember when I said this sword was a positively silly idea? Yeah, it feels sillier now that I'm having to draw stinking weaving around the base of it, and we're not even to the woven part yet. Again, some of these may be a tad overambitious for anything, let alone the 30 minutes, but we're just trying to sort of see if we can't get something decent looking, you know? We'll do this. That'll be, I don't know, a thing. So then, this doesn't really look believably like thread, and part of the issue with, oh, none of that was on detail lines, was it? Dagnabbit. Fine, we'll make it work. Never on the right layer. You're never on the right layer. Let's see. If y'all ever see me and I'm on the wrong layer, feel free to shout that at me. Like, you don't have to, but trust me, I'm not gonna complain if you do. So that's just gonna make them thinner there. Really, I want to make it thinner. I don't want to make that part thinner. Okay, so let's just try to get the main bulk of the thread like a little thinner looking. And oh, that's the other thing. I don't think they're all going to be looping over. Let's try to make that. That'll help with believability too. Yeah, okay, cool. That helps. And that'll make some other things easier to do. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm good with that. Flies back. Okay, let's see. I mean, again, there's not a whole bunch in terms of detail on this that I really want to mess with. So, other than trying to clean up weird line work in here real quick, I think we'll move on to the flats and go from there. Hey, you gotta be like this. There we go, that looks a little less silly now. Yeah, see, this is what I talk about. Like, I'm bad about getting caught up in, nitpicky nonsense. Like, this is not going to have that much impact on the final drawing, but I'm wasting time on it. So, let's just move on to the flats before I do any more of that. Not the flata. We did that last time. We're not doing it again. Okay, flats. We've got this piece. And then methinks we can have a little bit of fun with this. Just lean into the theme, why not? Okay, and then we're going to go way big close gap on this because I got kind of lazy, clearly, with... Yeah, I figured that wouldn't be enough to do it. We're going to have to actually close some of those lines properly. That's okay, though. Honestly, some of them close. That could have been worse. Example, we can get this one and that one. Not the best. Okay. Honestly, what I should have done is just go on the flats layer and just get a single wide brush stroke. And if I, maybe a 15. And then I could just erase along the edge. Let's do that. Gonna get us a little more of a continuous stroke on each of these anyway. Then I'll just go through with the red and do sort of the competing one. And I know you're thinking Siphimir, but you've got all this weird overlap. And yes, I do, and that's horrible. But I think that we've got some erasers that are going to be able to handle it well enough, although not the vector eraser that I so love, but other very good erasers still. And you can actually use, oh right, with the eraser you can just use a, okay, no that wasn't it. So I have to click and, nope. Need to have the eraser open and then click shift, and yeah, there we go, now we can just get a straight line across. There at all that stuff. That's not bad actually. Oops, nope. Oops. Okay, that's cool. I've never actually used that in its intended way before. Okay, and then hiding this for a second, I can use the vector on these ones because they're on the wrong layer and the wrong type of everything. Let's just use the vector eraser, and that'll clear up a lot of this. A few straight lines here or there should be fine. We've got 14 minutes left, no time to worry too much about details. Like that, like, yeah, whatever. Bring the flats back. Why are these here still? What happened? Oh well. That's not this one. We'll just remove them again. There we go. Now even if we remove the lines, that looks actually pretty neat. Cool. Okay. And we've got this. Out of curiosity, if we remove the lines on that, detail lines rather. On the flats, I'm going to go ahead and just re-add this part just in case. And then I'm going to stop worrying about the silly nonsense. That's a lie. I'm definitely going to keep worrying about the silly nonsense. Silly nonsense is my favorite part. I don't know why I even bother with the detail lines. We'll just toss those. 13 minutes left, and I haven't even filled everything. Okay, let's get a move on, shall we? Okay, we've got that. We'll get this edge, and then we'll give it a little bit of depth. Don't y'all worry. Let's see. Oop, that one shouldn't be green. Hold on. Somebody overfilled a little bit, methinks. There we go. Guess I shouldn't be surprised, really. Move this, and we'll give that fill one more go, shall we? Yeah, that's better. There we go, that's already looking exciting. Now, I think one thing that I do need to do a little bit on our lines layer is, oh boy, we'll just do this real quick. Just the tiniest bit of depth to some of this. Doesn't have to be a ton. I'm realizing that it's all looking a little flat. Most of that's this middle section, methinks. That means that it's fairly easy to resolve. I just need to be able to draw one halfway decent straight line, so it's impossible to resolve. Okay, fine. It's good enough. Again, time crunch, don't have time to worry about fixing it too well. Realize it's the same color as the thread, but that actually does end up saving us some effort. And it gives it a little bit of much needed depth. This is a weird sword. Okay, let's see, just so that we don't run out of time, because I think it's actually an important part. Highlights. There's a part on this I can definitely run out of time on, so not gonna do anything crazy on this. But I am just gonna go ahead and use our, not the lasso, but the poly line we were messing with earlier. Give us a little bit of a highlight on this. But actually also, hold on, before we do that. Even on the sketch, I'm gonna take the brown and just with the lighter one. Make it look like this is popping out of the middle rather than just the one piece. Not the one piece. I still can't speak as to whether or not the one piece is real. But I can tell you that that one piece that I just needed to erase was worth doing. Gonna fill, or am I on... Huh, wonder why that wouldn't fill. Am I on the wrong layer? Is this not... Oh, it's because it's behind the flats. That's why. Okay, it did fill. Cool. Problem solved. Let's see. We'll do the same thing for that then. Although actually, no, it wouldn't be like that, would it? We'll just have like a little bit of a... we'll do a more subtle one. Subtle was better. Don't have time to worry about getting it too right, so we'll just get it okay. 9 minutes. Got it. Out of curiosity, at this point, if we lose the lines, how are we looking? We lose the thread. Everything else is pretty much good. Okay. Highlights. Let's, these do need to be clipped to the layer below them now at this point. That way I can just do some crazy stuff like this. Not have to worry about edges so much. And a little bit of crazy stuff like this. Little depth. I won't worry about it on the red ones. I'm going to hope that the green can carry us, basically. I will add just a little bit on these ones. They make it look like it's actually curving around. Same deal for the green. Amazing what just like a little bit of highlighting can do to really add some depth to something. Well, I always try to take the time to do this, even when I'm on a major time crunch. A little more highlighting would have done this one good, but aforementioned time crunch, yeah, still got to deal with that. So, which part of this would be getting reflected? I guess this. Then we can just bring this all the way over to the edge. That's fine. That makes it look like it's got a little bit of an edge to it. Cool. Okay, I'm not going to worry about shadows too much or anything like that. Ain't got the time. I'm going to worry about these. I'm going to actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the pencil. Make it smallish. It'll give us a little bit of like a weavy effect. Throwing it on the flats. Mechanical pencil has a little more. Yeah, okay, mechanical pencil at 5 maybe. Minutes left. Okay. Man, I actually kind of like having the timer on these, because otherwise I'd have still been messing around with some utter nonsense. Like trying to get the shading exactly right on this little bit before we'd even done anything else. There's something to be said about putting a time limit and sticking to it. That said, it is now going to prove to be a major challenge. As I would hope, to be fair, but still, yowza. Okay, and then none of these should expand into the green. Like these shouldn't extend into the red. They shouldn't have highlight on them. So I need to go in the highlight. I need to grab an erase. Not a fill, an erase. Why can't I tell those icons apart anymore? Oops, nope. A fairly small one just along the actual, like, all of them there, and then we'll grab smaller and only undo 2 of them here. Those 2 are going to continue across. These 2 on just the flats layer are going to, oops, nope. We're going to get the right color and we're going to toss them. That's fine. That means that these ones down here are going to get about like that. And I'm going to just wing it a little bit at this point because we're short on time and I want to make sure we're getting the idea across. Let's see. There's a little device. I'm not going to recreate it well, but basically I believe it's that the horse, it's a part of the loom. Did I spend yesterday evening looking at pictures of looms trying to figure out the physics of them for this? Yes, I did. And I should have drawn that with the pen. Dagnabbit. No line work for this. It's just all on the flats layer because we're out of time. That's okay. Have the thread itself coming in. It's looking like some insane hot dog. But I promise there's a logic to it. Okay, that'll do. That'll do for that. On the highlights layer and just remove that little bit because it's really obvious. Okay, the weaving part I think is believable with this now. Now the only part to do in the 3 remaining minutes that's, oh jeepers, not happening, is to see what we can do to make this part look a little more woven. Now, there's a few things I can do, but one of them is going to be take the eraser, not the fill, get ourselves the hard one, and get it real fine, and actually on the flats layer, give ourselves like a little bit. I'm going to treat this the same way that a lot of times you see people draw like hair in anime. We're adding like a little bit of fringe and fray in here. Help break it up. My hope is that this helps it look like we've got, and I'll do a little bit with the brush too to help like spread it out. Like we've got a little bit of unevenness at this stage in the game. Like you'd have like tassels or some such. And so part of that also means that some of these ought to not necessarily end at quite the same height. That wasn't quite what I meant to do, but that's okay. If you're up close, it doesn't look great, and far away, it doesn't look great either. So let's simplify. Undo a little bit, just leave it at a couple of small ones, but the catch is that they really do need to follow the curvature of the rest of it. So I think that's where we were messing up before. Let's have one more go at this. Ourselves just like a 3. There we go. And we don't have time to add nice believable fabric physics like I'd like to, so we're just gonna have to deal with it like this. This one we can just give it a nice little part like this and help imply that it's curved over a little. And now we could mess with shading on this, sure. Or, actually that's probably all we have reasonable time to do, but darn it, I'm gonna try anyway. Is let's get our millipen, let's go to 4, or actually 5 on this. Let's at least do this on a layer that's not the flats. And we're just going to do some, but it does not connect to that, and it does still need to be above the flats. Whoops, nope, do that. Actually, I guess it should be matted to the flats so we don't have any overlap. Boy, okay. Mat to the flats. Move any of this with just a big ol' eraser. Big ol' one. Realize we have 1 minute left and that this is a horrible idea. But commit to the bit, you know? We're doing it. Let's can't make it halfway decent. I don't think we can get this one done decently in the time we have, so instead I am maybe just going to go and lean into the shading a little bit. Much as I'd love to draw an Argyle pattern on this, and that was the original plan, and it's a terrible plan. It is a terrible plan, but it'd be fun. Oops, nope, not the big one. We've got 13 seconds left. Come on. And then the red, we can get like a little bit of a highlight in. Or the fact that the red highlight is on the green. Ah, okay. So I'm not sure that the highlighting on the actual woven part is good, and I may allow myself to undo the red one. Won't add anything else, but I think we'll pull that off. Because it's hurting it. We can leave that one. Okay. Leaving it as is, it's done. One way or the other, we've done our 30 minutes. The time is up. And actually, you know, as a premise, this is still phenomenally stupid, but it actually looks kind of decent as it turned out. If I had another 30 minutes, I would go through and I'd tweak the shading over here to give more of a highlight on the top and maybe a shadow on the bottom. And then I would definitely, I actually probably wouldn't mess with this that much. I don't think there's anything I can do to make those look more believable. But I would definitely try to get like a proper Argyle pattern going on this. And for Argyle, for anyone who wants to know, if anyone cares at all, no clue. I'm gonna use the straight line tool for this because I'm gonna cheat. That's the best way to do it. So just on the flats, that's fine. Straight line, Argyle it's a common pattern. It's not that different from plaid. I mean, historically there's differences and all that jazz, but it's basically sort of like a diamond plaid. If I were to do this and sort of just bring these through, trying to make it look decent. Yeah, something like that. You see it on a bunch of Christmas stuff. And then if you really want to have like fun with it and do like alternating colors, then you can sort of get like heating lines coming through. And then maybe break them up into a woven thing. But of course, mapping this on a flat surface is one thing. Mapping it on the curved surface of those wild scarves is another beast entirely. And even then, this isn't like great. Okay, and then the erasers, I would probably just get the hard eraser and sort of, we turn the red into a dotted line because it's fun. Makes it look like stitching a little bit. Mostly it helps with the sort of like hierarchy, so your eyes aren't torn between the red and the green. The green's dominant, and your reds can sort of, or not your reds, your eyes can sort of parse it a little bit better. It'll be less of an eyesore. Little bit. Anyway, this is just some silly Argyle for context. That's what I'd love to do with some more time. Then you could do like an alternating thing with this. I'm putting too much effort into the Argyle that no one's going to see. But like, yeah, see, the red would probably look bad, but if you have the green and like maybe a soft white, this blue's probably not going to be, yeah, it's not great. But you know, the soft yellow in here isn't bad. So yeah, you could have some fun with some silly patterns like that. But We will not be doing that, and instead I'm gonna pop this into another layer real quick, because it's a fun little pattern. Polyline, that's right, you can go off the canvas with it, and let's just cut this into its own layer. Argyle EX. Yeah, it's a good thing I have the timer, else I'd have probably spent another hour on this just trying to get Argyle to map to a flat surface when I can barely do it on a rectangle. So, in lieu of doing that and making myself miserable, I think that we're going to have to wrap it up with this. Again, room for improvement, but, these are 3 swords that are like 80% of the way to being pretty decent, or I could have had 1 sword that was like 95% of the way to being pretty decent. So, like, I think that I prefer having the mix like this. Oh, right, folders. So, of course, as is tradition, we've got to pop this into a folder real quick. Makes it easy to mess with stuff. And we've got Woven, the one that has been haunting me for a little while at this point, was how to do this. So, 3 swords today. Pretty good turnout on those. We've got our Woven one, of course. We've got, what was this one? Mirror. We've got Mirror. Again, some weird stuff, but messing with refraction and bubbles is always fun. If we really wanted to get wonky with it, you'd have stuff that's mirrored upside down at certain angles because light waves are complicated. And then we've got Leaf based on a sentry plant. This one I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. Like the fabric folds on that look stinking cool. I don't know if they look like fabric. They look more like the edge of a mesa or something, but it's a style that I want to experiment with a little more if I ever do some like Dune art or something. Which I've been thinking about. Dune's fun. So yeah, three pretty neat swords. Zoop, zoop, zoop. And I think with that, we will wrap it up for tonight. We're coming right up here on 10 o'clock. Let's see. Let me see if anyone else is streaming real quick. Maybe I can do a raid. Pop this open. Still not very good at navigating Twitch raids in this interface. Actually, wait, hold on. Let me try one thing. Not the activity feed. Nope. Is it? I'm pretty sure every time I do this, I end up just giving up and going and like, yeah, I always end up just giving up and opening Twitch manually anyway. So let's just do that. As opposed to working through OBS and such. Okay, it looks like we've got a few. Okay. Who would be fun to raid? Who's... What's this one working on right now? I've just got to sort of see what people are doing. Like they're in a holding pattern right now, but that's fun. Let's Fury Brush into anything. Well, besides Geico ads. They do some fun stuff. Or Muffant. More ads. Okay, you know what?
Fun?
I think Teary Brush might... Let's go raid Teary Brush with the... I think 0 people actually in chat. I'll send you all that away for anyone who happens to be watching. You'll be able to see it. Should be fun. So yeah, let's do that. Oops, I accidentally opened my own stream and I hear my own voice. I don't like the echo. Please go away. How about this button? I think this is the one I wanted. Yeah, this is the one. Let's raid all 0 of us. Let's head over to Teary Brush. So yeah, with that, I think it has been fun, y'all, but we're going to wrap up here. It looks like we'll be ready to raid in about 10 seconds. And so I will see y'all next time. Thank y'all for dropping by.